Thoughts so loud, thoughts so wow that I need to get them out, yeah. What's up, my people, and welcome to the 24th episode of Loud Thoughts with me, your host, True Loudy, bringing it to you raw and a little bit scripted because I'm trying to bring you the best content that I possibly can. Maybe you're new to the channel. Maybe you don't even know what the hell Loud Thoughts is. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's a podcast all about self-development and becoming a better human being because we all need that in our lives, including myself. So these words aren't just for me. They're not just for you. They're for everybody. If you haven't liked, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't put on notifications so you know when I drop a new video every Friday, then you can do that right now. Go ahead. I'll leave you a little bit of time. Okay, that's enough time. I already gave it to you. That's all you get. Today's episode is called Character Title. It's all about when you're young, how do you decide what you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do with your life? Everyone asks you, well, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? What are you going to make out of this life? And that's what this episode's about. So, without further ado, I bring to you episode number 24, Character Title. Enjoy. When we're young, we're often asked the question, what do we want to be when we grow up? And some kids have answers. When you become a little bit older, reality sets in and you understand the limitations of life. And so those answers might change a little bit. But I think when you're young, that innocent light chooses anything at all. Some kids want to be superheroes, right? Some kids want to be doctors or lawyers. I mean, I think that's like an external pressure from parents. But, fantastical things. I want to be a werewolf. I want to be a vampire. I don't really know any kids that do that, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like there's, I want to be a race car driver. I want to be a firefighter. Like all these things that seem exciting to them, right? And they don't understand all the responsibilities that come with that. And they're not familiar with responsibility at all because their lives aren't full of responsibility. So they choose these things based on innocence. And it's only when we learn how difficult life is and how much responsibility is required of these positions that we start to stray away from them and take the paths maybe that are of least resistance. And there's also these external pressures too from the outside world of you'll never be able to do that. Sometimes that happens from people, but also there's the voices that say that's not practical. You really shouldn't do that. Some kids want to be rock stars, dude. Some kids want to be musicians or artists. And that's not necessarily a realistic approach because it takes a lot of time and energy and not a lot of people make it in those industries. But you can make it. That's the thing is if you put your mind to something and you're passionate about it, you can 100% make it happen. You can make that goal and dream a reality. And I think a lot of us, including myself, get pulled away from that innocent part of us as a child, and we start to move towards practicality. And in order to protect ourselves from the world that we live in, the structure of this society that's been created, And I think that's why so many of us feel lost and so many of us feel confused about what we want to do. And often we're asked what we want to do and not who we want to be. And I think that's more of an important question to ask. It's a difference between titles and character, positions and virtue. Who do I want to be in every situation? Do I want to be someone who victimizes myself and blames the world for my problems? Or do I want to be someone who takes responsibility and pursues my dreams vehemently and adamantly and, busts through those roadblocks that present themselves in the road? Because there will be roadblocks in life, in the path of life, in the road of life, right? Especially when you take a path that is less traveled. But the end of that road is much more rewarding because you paved it yourself. And people, they can't take that away from you because you put in the hard work and developed that yourself. And it's the same thing with character and virtue. People can't take that away from you. when you develop a sense of really what you believe in and how you want to live your life and how you want to present yourself in all situations, no one can take that away from you. No one can force you to do anything. And I think that's really powerful. When you make that decision of this is the person I want to be and you stick to that, and not this is the person I want to be as far as like my title and my position. I want money, right? I want to have a Rolls Royce. I want a house with a picket fence and all these things. Like material possessions, all that shit comes and goes in your life. I mean, think about your last paycheck. How fast did that go? Went straight to bills probably, right? Maybe some of you are making money out there. Don't let me judge. I just know a lot of us are broke, including myself. And while I managed to save a little bit of money, it comes and goes real quick, especially when, you try to invest it to create more opportunities for yourself. And opportunities come up often if you look for them in the right places. Life is full of opportunity, especially through networking, through people and stuff like that. So when you build yourself to who you want to be, a person of virtue and character, those opportunities come much more easily. I think a lot of people look at fulfillment as what I have and not what I give to the world. So a lot of people in life, they want to take. I want this, I want that, I want those, and not like I want to give this. Like who I become allows me the opportunity to give this to people. You see it a lot of the time, which is really awesome, by the way. I will mention this. I'm not a big fan of sports necessarily, but a lot of these athletes start foundations where they set up scholarship funds, and maybe they're for hospitals to help children's hospitals or cancer patients and things like that. That's amazing, dude. When you come into a position of power, you're able to help others. And watching other people do that is so inspiring to me. And I think that's what life's all about, man. It's you should be getting fulfillment out of what you're doing with your life. You shouldn't just be self-sacrificing all the way through and through. Some people would argue that, you should live a life of servitude always, but you have to serve yourself as well so that you're in a healthy position to serve other people. And I think, like I said, that's super powerful. Become this person that also you'd want to be around, that you'd want in your circle, in your unit, and become a person that is in a position to help others. I think that's really an amazing place to be as an individual. And that innocence of the child, a perfect example of that is Christmas time. Like kids are so stoked to get presents, but kids don't have any money of their own, so they're not giving out presents. You know what I mean? It's all about me, 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 and that's fine because kids are super egocentric. But that same egocentrism, that same the world's all about me attitude, also helps you figure out what you want to be without any information being input from anywhere else. Like the innocence of just, I want to do this with my life. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really great place to start for people who are trying to figure out what they want, is look at what you wanted to do when you were a kid, because kids naive. They don't have any outside influences really, other than maybe TV shows and stuff like that are pressuring them into a particular position, because they don't need to do that yet. When you're 18, it's a little bit different because you're about to go off to college, and it's you need to figure this out, dude. You're about to be on your own. You're going to have to make money. You're going to have to support yourself, pay your own bills and all that shit. And so that becomes very stressful. And we live in that stress for basically the rest of our lives, trying to figure out this question. And a lot of us are forced to figure it out way too soon, taking out loans and going to school for things that we're not even that interested in, or that we feel are practical. I think that's the big word there, is practical. And practicality only gets you so far with fulfillment. Like, yes, practicality can set you up to then do whatever you want with your dreams and aspirations. But also, man, you only have one life to live. I only have one life to live. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather pursue something that I'm super interested in and try to do that to the best of my abilities. And if I have to work a shitty job and support myself through that, then that's fine. But looking at what you wanted to do when you were a kid, I think is massive. I think a lot of people don't trace back far enough to those thoughts and feelings when they were young, because we have all these external pressures, like I said, and some of those external pressures are realistic, and some of them we've almost created ourselves in our heads based on what we think other people want or what's going to bring us to the place that we want to be, and it's not necessarily realistic. And so, that causes a lot of anxiety. It causes a lot of frustration, and it causes a lot of friction too. I think for the most part, the best thing to do is sit with yourself with no distractions and really dig into what it is you want out of life and who you want to be. Recently, probably about a couple years ago, that's not very recently, but a couple of years ago, I actually wrote a list of the character traits that I wanted to develop for myself. And slowly over time, I've been able to check some of those character traits off. And I think that's a really great place to start as far as developing that, as far as developing a sense of what you want out of this life and who you want to be, maybe title-wise or position-wise. Just look back at what you wanted to do when you were a kid, and it'll come, dude. I did that with parkour. I wanted to be a stuntman when I was a little kid because I loved action movies. 90s action movies were the shit, dude. People were like flying off high wires. Jackie Chan, dude. Jackie Chan was a huge inspiration of mine. And I loved watching all his flips and tricks and all his parkour moves. And I was like, damn, that shit is tight. So when I was 20 years old, one day I was having a conversation with a friend. And I'm like, man, I just don't know what I want to do. I feel really stressed out. I feel like I need to know what I want to do and who I want to be in this life. And I think like a couple weeks later, the universe just granted me an opportunity to go out and train parkour. And I fell in love with it, and it became my whole life. And it became an obsession. And so, yeah, I mean, looking back at that was like a catalyst for me. And now I get to do this podcast, which is sick. And looking back right before doing this episode, I was like, what in my childhood, gave way to me wanting to do podcasts and doing work in this field, right? And when I was a kid, I used to actually record. You guys probably had this back in the day too, but you get these little recorder boxes. You could hit record and then record on a tape. And me and my friend would do our own little shows. I mean, they were shit, because you're a kid, so you don't have anything interesting to say. But yeah, that's my own personal experience that I wanted to share with you guys. Like, if your interests today definitely are resonant with you when you're a child. So looking at that and trying to figure out a way to bring that into your present and try to ignore all these external pressures. You don't need to be this person, that person, just because other people are doing it. Like, one of the biggest traps is looking at what other people are doing and getting down on yourself. It has to start from a first step. There's a really good depiction in one of my books, because I'm in school, that shows exactly what that looks like. Small steps lead you to where you want to go, whereas trying to take too big of a step can discourage you. And a lot of people don't even get to the point of looking at those steps and trying to decide that they're going to take it because they get discouraged immediately by looking at others. But in this depiction, there's two ladders, one ladder, the other ladder. On the right, there's a rung like that far away, and some dude's trying to reach it and he can't reach it. He's like, oh, it's so far away. And then on the left, there's a bunch of little steps, little rungs. The part partitions between the rungs. They're like a foot or whatever. So homeboy on the left is like all the way at the top, and he's like reaching his goals. I was like, damn, that's relatable right there. And it is, dude. Like, you got to break things down into small little parts to really be successful. And you got to take the first step. And taking the first step towards your goals and dreams can be really difficult because you don't know which direction to go at first. But try stuff. That's the biggest thing, is figure out what you wanted to do when you were a kid. Start trying things. And I promise you that it will stick. That's the big thing, is it will stick. You'll be like, oh, that lit a spark in me. That's exciting. And then you'll want to do that. And then you'll be motivated to do that because it fulfills you. And then through that, you can figure out what type of person you want to be. So thanks for listening, guys. Much love. And may you be blessed as you move through the streets of this life, trying to figure out which way is wrong and which way is right, baby.